we happen to be in the fast sales entry program. So again, setting the default customer is a feature where you can decide whether you want to load the default customer or not. So if you click on it, it basically brings from the fast sales workstation entry the default customer that you've defined. Here are the pictures. So you click on this picture, it loads the item, the Acer, and loads this other item, the Lego. I come to the payment detail, and notice in here it tells you what you can scan. And I come to the payment, it's for $126 default method. I've entered for that, it's cash. I can just process $100 cash. And notice as I process payment, you'll go ahead and create a payment transaction in Acumatica, and it will show me that in here. If I click on the check, then it lets me process maybe a check for $26 and pay. And sure enough, that would basically show me that I've created 2 payments for this. And if I click on process, it will basically go ahead and print my receipt that I can hand to the customer. Again, very soon this would be, we're working for a customer where this would be a feature where you could get email to the customer if they have a customer number on file. But that's basically what it takes to process the transaction. We have a transaction 240 that got processed. And depending on whether I'm updating things in the batch mode or the live mode, it would be sitting here, that transaction 240, where I can come in here and say process it. Now, of course, if my transaction was set up to be, processed in the live mode, then I don't need to do this. Again, this is for situations where you have a sale going, you have a lot of transactions, and that's again is a setting that allows you to update fast sales transaction as entered in the live mode. Or, auto set cash customers was another one of the settings we're talking about. Automatically loading the salesperson, the sales stack, whether we're creating an ASO transaction or IN transaction, the ASO module for the process transaction. These are all settings. We're going to go back to fast sales entry and process some other transactions to show you the behavior of the program as we're processing other transactions. And now notice that the cash customer got automatically loaded because we told it that that's what we want to do. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to process a return, and I could process the return for just a regular item that I had. That item, click on return, and notice that it's telling me I'm in the return mode. I could do that, and so it's basically for the returns, I've told it what warehouse and what location I want to load it to. It's different, so it's creating a separate line for me. And my balance is 0, so I can just click on process, and system will go ahead and basically create the transactions and let me do what I need to. Now, the next transaction I'm processing, I'm going to process as a serialized item, so I can show you how the serial number gets added back into the Acumatica for the process items. Okay, so now we're going to do the next item. That's 2510. And it is as serialized item. I intentionally did not scan the serial number, so it tells me, okay, now for that item, give me the serial number, the 2510. So I'm going to come in here and tell it that in the same field, the serial number for it is 2510-2. And notice that it loaded it in here. I'm going to scan the serial number of a different item so you can see how actually the program would let you, just by scanning the serial number, load the item. So this is another item, serialized item. I just scanned the serial number and we just loaded the item. Now I'm going to go into the return mode and basically tell it that I'm returning one of the items. Maybe I return the GFS 2510. And notice that it tells me I'm in the return mode. I scan that and it tells me you need to give me a serial number, and I could have just any number typed in, and as soon as I process this, this would basically now be processed. So now I come in here, I need to still pay $125. Maybe they give me $130. I process it, it tells me change due is $5, and it records my payment for $125 here. I click on process. So it goes ahead and process. Now what are we going to do now, just to show you how the transaction got updated? We're going to go in to our batch mode and process that transaction that we just created. So then we could go and see the different transactions that got created in the system because of that return that we just processed. Okay, so now if I go into the sales order module, I would see that I have an AR transaction process. That's the credit memo that got returned for the product that I returned. Okay, and the serial number is that serial number that I've entered, 8765 whatever, and I have an completed transaction. And notice that they all have reference to the point of sale transaction, which has the 2 items that I sold to the customer with all the information that they need to have on it. And if I go into my inventory summary and I bring up the inventory summary to look at this item that I just processed, the FS 2500. Now I think I 2510 I did that. And if I have it show me the serial numbers, 8765 that serial number got it. So we basically let you add products back into Acumatica with a serialized item that is coming back and doesn't exist if you do that. So far, we've showed you how you can process multiple payments. I'm going to do a will call transaction. Very often in situations like this, you can have a will call customer, and for that you just click on add order. And I've just added that order number 4924 in the system. So if I just go to the Acumatica sales order and bring that up, 4924, you would see that 4924 is just an order, a regular sales order that I created with that item on it, the Lego on it. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna select that. And I'm going to say add. And notice you could even add multiple orders. Now, we do check things to make sure sales tax is a proper one and all of that. And the nice thing about it is you can continue and just sell other items to this customer. And basically what happens is when you process, click on process, it goes ahead and processes as shipped the sales order that you've loaded into this order, and then basically process the Coca-Cola in here in this item as a regular sales item that you're processing. So very, very flexible in what we do with things and on and on. Now, if you select credit card, and unfortunately the way it worked out, I could not figure out how to get the credit card terminal working to show the credit card terminal being working, but I've created a Visa called TransSafe, and it has the numbers, and basically I have the ability to do 219.10 and pay it, and you basically are processing a transaction and on in Acumatica. It's just like capturing payment, authorizing payment, all of that. That's just information comes in from Acumatica. The payment is generated similar to the other transaction, which is linked to the sales order transaction generated in the system for what we're doing, and on and on. So basically, what we've tried to do with our fast sales processing is, and of course, you got if you're starting a new transaction, you have the ability to load orders from history, and you could select any one of them, and it would basically let you bring the order back. And whether you're duplicating it or returning it, it would go ahead and do the function for you. So we basically wanted to make sure that we created a system that, first of all, it's all done in Acumatica. It's all Acumatica standard. It works with the Acumatica in sales order module, very, very tightly integrated. Loading let you load will call orders, it let you create sales orders if you need to buy the items, and special order you need to do the same discount code for promotions in Acumatica, same payment method. Now, when it comes to credit cards, transactions you can process authorized.net. So if you have a customer for partners online, if you have a authorized.net you want to use, no problem. Your payment method could be linked to authorized.net. And let me do that so show you the payment method in the banking, so you see what I mean by that. So here I got TransSafe Visa, and all you've done is you have a processing center that says TransSave that you created, and you have your other visa, which basically would be authorized.net. And so you have, or if you're setting up your customers, you could choose to use authorized.net if you do not want to use credit card terminals. And of course, if you don't want to use Acumatica for processing the credit card, you have a separate credit card terminal sitting at the counter that charges. Then you basically just enter the information as paid in Acumatica using a payment method that is not doing authorization. Or if you set up the TransSave, and we work with TransSave, and basically we will set you up with the credit card terminals and on to be able to process the transactions for you. And I think it's the nice thing about it is, we kind of looked at everything we had, credit card terminals, open and close, lets you come to a selected the workstation and close it. And when you close it, then you can print your daily report that shows you how much amount you've processed. We let you do buttons. Here's where you give the image, the address to the image for any one of these items. And I said we're going to do the tree structure for it. Basically processing payment. This is the program that if you basically wanted to have a scheme where payments are processed by a different transaction, it would show you the total to pay, balance to pay, and you could just come in here and select your payments, and again, multiple payments, cash, Visa, pay the car, transaction in the back by the cashier instead of paying it instead of having the salesperson on the floor accepting the money. As we've talked about, Salesperson, tax ID, freight code, ship via, all of those are set up by workstations. So as you're entering workstations, you could define all of those. And then we can talk about actions for doing new customer additions. So you'll see that. That's quickly what I was going to show you for today's demo. Of course, you can call us and we can discuss the specifics for your customer. And okay,